Welcome back. In the last video, we met Jami, a single mom with an empty nest living in rural Texas who wanted to host exchange students but severely underestimated herself. Just like so many potential host families, it was hard for her to imagine how interesting and exciting everyday life in her area could be for a foreign exchange student who comes from a very different background. The first time around, Jami decided to invite two students at once, so she had Ching from China and Haewang from South Korea. The next time around, she decided to have just one student, and she invited Ana Julia from Brazil. Now, were these girls bored living with a single older host mom in rural Texas? Let's let Jami tell us how it went.
I wish I could tell you that I hosted because I thought about it for a long time, but that's not really true. It's kind of sort of a wild hair that I did, and I'm certainly glad that I did. I feel like I learned more from the girls maybe than they learned from me. I learned about their cultures. I learned about what they do in their country. I learned a lot about my own country in helping them study English or history or government or anything like that to be able to talk to them about those things. One of the biggest differences with Ching and Haewang when I had them here was talking about how many flags we fly in the United States. And Texas, since I can really only speak about that, we fly a lot of Texas flags, and there are a lot of United States flags. And they talked about they just don't have that many of their own country flags flying in their country. Not only the food differences and stuff like that. As far as clothing and things, they pretty much were American clothes and into the American styles. I didn't really notice a difference with that with any of the girls. My first experience with Ching and Haewang was I thought I wanted to show them a bunch of really cool stuff that we had around the Houston area. But then I realized everything that we have here, they have probably bigger, probably better in their own countries. China and Korea really aren't backwoods kind of areas, and my first two girls did come from families who were financially comfortable. So the girls had experienced a lot. And then I realized what I had to offer in a small rural Texas town were my farmer friends. And so we went out and saw rice being harvested, and they got to ride in a tractor. And we went out and saw the wildflowers that we have during the springtime of Texas. And again, kayaking was something they had never done. So I have friends who lived on the San Marcos River. I took them there, and they got to paddle and kayak around there. And then when I got Ana from Brazil, a little bit different kind of situation is that she won a contest in her country, in her state, on who spoke the best English, wrote the best English, and all that. And so Ana came a lot more prepared for our language than the other two had. But there were still a lot of things with her background that she had not done. So it just so happened I had a trip planned to Disney before she got here. So I just paid for her to get to go there and experience Disney with us. But then when we got back to my little town, she had never flown a kite, so we bought a kite. She had never ridden a horse, so I had a friend with a horse. She had never gone fishing, so I have friends with a fishing pond. She had never swam, so I tried to teach her to swim. She'd never ridden a bike, so I bought a couple of little bikes and tried to teach her to bike ride. They weren't little enough. She's a very small, tiny little human.
Thank you, Jami, for sharing your story. Every year, hundreds of families across the United States discover just how much fun it is to share everyday life experiences in their local area with a foreign exchange student. Coming up next, Jami is going to answer the questions: was it worth it? What did she learn? And what advice does she have for future host families? See you in the next video.